I grew up in Norman, just up the road, went to first grade in Wayne, Oklahoma. Does anybody know where Wayne is? Little small town right off the highway. And then Dad was a pastor there in Norman. I've got two brothers. And after high school, I went to college in Stillwater. So I went to Oklahoma State, got an accounting degree. And kind of a unique part about my story, the way I paid my way through college was I sold books with the Southwestern Company. All right, it's a door-to-door sales job, and I did really well with that my first year. Came back, recruited all of my college buddies from OSU and all my buddies from OU. By the time I graduated from college, I had 50 college kids working for me. So it was my first experience of leading a sales organization. I found out that I loved working with my friends. I was super entrepreneurial. Wanted to have my own business. So then, moved to Tulsa, and I'm into aviation. That's a hobby of mine. I'm a pilot. I've got about 2,700 hours flying. So that's what brought me to Tulsa. That was my first job. Met my wife, Sarah, and we've been married for 19 years and have 6 children. So the oldest is 17, the youngest is 3, and my wife always wants me to remind everybody to be praying for her during this whole campaign, because she's got the tough job. I just talked to her on the phone, and she was at soccer games and got one sick and running around, and you know how it is with young children. So anyway, so real busy at the house. So then I got into the mortgage business shortly there after college, and started my company, like you said, with $1,000 in a computer. And today we have over 1,100 employees. It's been kind of an American dream story. We have about 155 offices now. We do business in 40 states. If you've ever had your home loan sold, that's where we come in and we buy home loans from banks and credit unions, and then we service everything right out of Tulsa. So whether we buy a loan from a bank in Florida or originate from our Enid, Oklahoma office, we board those loans and we service everything out of Tulsa. So that's just been my whole world for the last 18 years. It's been hiring people smarter than me, putting them in the right positions, leading, setting the vision, setting the strategy. So why am I running for governor? So last year, this governor thing kept coming up. I kept thinking about it. And ultimately, as a man of faith, I just feel like it's something I'm supposed to do. And so, it was a hard decision to make, as you can imagine. I'm normally a guy that likes to be behind the scenes, just do my job, and I've been haven't really thought about politics really at all for the last 18 years. I've been growing my business, raising my family, but man, it was an agonized decision. And so I wanted the fleece wet, I wanted it dry, I wanted it wet again, I wanted a burning bush experience. I didn't get any of that. I just got the feeling that I was supposed to step out and lead our state. So that's what I'm doing. But practically speaking, I get a chance to travel. We've got offices all over Texas, South Carolina, Arkansas, Tennessee, Colorado. I travel all over the country, visiting our locations, and I see firsthand the momentum from these other states, the jobs, the positivity, the economy. It's booming all around us. And then I come back to Oklahoma, the state that I love, that I grew up in, that I'm raising my family and growing my business, and I just feel like we're down in the dumps a little bit. And what I mean by that is last year we had a negative 3% growth, where all the other states around us are growing tremendously. And we're going to 4-day school weeks trying to save money, and we've got this budget deficit. And so then I look at, okay, who's going to lead us out of this? Who's going to run for governor? And to me, it just looks like more of the same, just kind of the career politicians running for their next election. And I truly believe we're going to be in the exact same situation 8 years from now if we keep electing the same folks. And so I want to take off for my company, go serve my state, and get us growing again, and be focused more on the next generation instead of the next election. And I think too often, our elected officials are so worried about getting reelected that they can never make the right decision for all of Oklahoma because they're worried about this industry or this special interest group or this special interest group. You've got to have a governor that's focusing on the next generation and not the next election. So I think that's what our forefathers wanted. They wanted us to temporarily leave our farm or business and go serve our state. And so that's my idea how it should work. So I think it's the leader of the company's job, it's the leader of the university's job, it's the leader of the state's job to lay out the vision and then to come up with the plan and help everybody understand how to get there. So at our company, we have a vision to be a top 10 lender. We want to be top 10 in sales. We're going to be top 10 in servicing, top 10 places to work, top 10 employee benefits. We want to be top 10 in every single thing we do, okay? So at the state level, I have the same vision. I want us to be a top 10 state. I think we can be top 10 in education, top 10 in growth, and top 10 in infrastructure. And so when you have a vision that you want to be top 10, then you can't keep doing the same things that got us to 48th, right? So to me, it's always a change issue. It's not a Republican. You always hear it's Republican or Democrat or rural versus urban, but really it's a change issue. And you've got to have the leader that kind of helps everybody understand how to manage that change curve. So when I use the analogy, it's like a rubber band. I'm pulling the rubber band and I'm pointing it to where we're going to go. The big beacon is top 10, right? And I don't want to pull that rubber band so hard where it breaks, but I certainly don't want the rubber band just sitting in my hand with no direction. And right now, that's how I feel like our state is. We just have no direction. We don't know where we're going to do, what we're going to do, or where we're going to go. So at our company, we have, the way we lead our company from a day-to-day and an organization, we have 5 pillars that we focus on, okay? And so I think about leading the state the same way. You always need these 5 pillars. You need a growth plan, you need education, you need health, you need infrastructure, and you need efficiencies. Those never change, okay? You always need a growth plan, you always need education. What changes as you go off site, you strategize, you say, okay, here's the 5 things we're going to do under growth this year, here's what we're going to do under education, et cetera. So a lot of this to me is blocking and tackling, and I'll tell you what I mean by that. Why are some states successful and some states aren't? Why are some businesses successful, some businesses aren't? It comes down to leadership, right? It comes down to having a game plan. Our company grew 20% this year. And the overall, interest rates went up a little bit last year and refinances dried up. We're in the mortgage business. We still grew by 20%, even though nationally our industry was off 15%. Well, why is that? We had a plan. We had recruiters in Florida, in New Jersey, in Carolinas, in Seattle, and we were out there recruiting and we were growing our company. We knew exactly what we needed to do to grow, irregardless of the industry, we were going to grow. So I've talked to commerce departments that used to work for David Boren's administration, who's a former governor, all the way through the Fallon administration, and we used to have a commerce department that would be located in California. And that's a higher tax state. Well, we really are very, very competitive with them. And even overseas. And we don't do that anymore. And I think we have a tremendous opportunity over the next 10 years with what's changed in Washington, with the tax rate dropping from 35 to 21, with the repatriation of dollars coming back, with the push to bring manufacturing back here domestically. I think we have a huge opportunity to grow Oklahoma. Why not us? Why can't we get that here in Oklahoma? So I want to be the governor of Oklahoma, like the governor of Texas, that's calling 2 businesses a day, recruiting those companies to come in here. And to me, it's about it's about policy. Why? I look at economic development reports coming out of the real estate departments, commercial real estate groups. Texas is always like the #1 place to do business. Oklahoma's number 20. Some of this is easy. It's like speed of permitting. Some of it we can do to move our state forward, and I want to be the governor to do it. I just think I'm the guy with the outside experience that's grown a business and knows how to do that. But I don't think we can grow and move our state forward without fixing education, okay? It goes hand in hand to me. I've been meeting with CEOs and business leaders around the state, and they're having a hard time recruiting and growing because we're losing the marketing battle in education. We have got to fix that here. I look at everything kind of on a 6-state footprint around Oklahoma, and I call that market, all right? To me, we have to pay our teachers what market is. And that is what Texas, what Kansas, what Arkansas, what they pay their teachers is what we need to pay our teachers in common education. We need to make sure we're driving dollars into the classroom and not at the administration level. Our classes are too big. We need to promote the profession of teaching and really get those growing. They're kind of down right now, and we need to really focus on that education. And that just goes hand in hand with economic development. Then on the efficiencies, I just want to kind of tell you how my mind thinks about efficiencies and why this is so important. In our state government, we spend $22 billion in our state, and it is completely broken because they only get to appropriate $6.5 billion. We don't have control over the entire budget, right? So at our company, if you can imagine, if you're a legislator and you're trying to understand all the different agencies at state government, there's about 120 different agencies, okay? It's hard to understand when everybody's coming and hitting you saying, I need more money, I need more money, I need more money. It's hard to understand which ones actually need it, which ones don't, which ones are more efficient. So whether you're the CEO or whether you're the governor, you've got to understand how to decipher information. So at our company, we have 25 different cost centers. So if you're building, if you're running IT, for example, and are you good at IT, Chris?
I asked millennials.
Yeah, well, we'll pretend you're good at IT.
Okay.
So if you're running IT for me and you come up and say, Kevin, we've got to hire 10 new people next year, and we've got to upgrade 400 computers, and we've got to buy this software and this software and this software, I just get spun in a circle. It's so much information that hits one person. We already have 43 people at my company in IT. It would take me 2 weeks to dig in to find out, do we really have to hire 10 more people, Chris? What are the 43 people doing? Let me see the job descriptions. Let me dig in. Let me look at the list of computers that we got to upgrade. We have to upgrade 400 computers. When did we buy those computers? Are you sure we can't get another year out of them? You see what I'm saying? It's just so much information. So we have to break everything down to a number or a metric. And so if you're running underwriting, for example, at our company, we underwrite about 3,000 home loans a month. I take our underwriting cost center, divide it by 3,000 and come up with a number. For us, that number is $267. So it costs us $267 to underwrite a home loan, okay? So if you're running underwriting, you can hire as many underwriters as you want this year. But remember what your metric is. It's 267. So next January, if we're closing 4,000 home loans, then of course you can hire more. But if we're only closing 2,000, you've actually got to shrink, right? And so why is that so important? When I look across all the different agencies, I don't know what services they're delivering to us as taxpayers. I talk to some agencies that have 2,500 employees. Some have 1,000, some have 500. And I ask myself, how many do they have last year? How many do they have 5 years ago? Are they doing more services that needs more employees? You see what I'm saying? Because bigger budgets aren't always necessarily better outcomes. As conservatives, Republicans, we know we've got to deliver services to our citizens. We just want to do it effectively and efficiently, okay? And so that is a huge deal. We need to get back to zero-based budgeting, line item budgeting, to be able to help our folks understand exactly how to operate those agencies, because we just have to, we've got to get more control over the entire $22 billion budget. And have more, and because from the previous legislative sessions, it's all earmarked for certain things. We got to bring that back in. So, I want to be the governor for all 4 million Oklahomans, the guy that is focused on the next 10 years and changing the mindset, taking us to top 10, setting the big vision, and then rallying everybody around to solve it. And so that's why I'm here tonight. And let me be quiet for a second and open it up to questions. So, when you dig into the budget, like I said, the $22 billion that we spend, we need to have more control over that. The dialogue, everything you read in the paper is just about a very, very small portion of the budget. So we got to have more control over that. Medicaid is another great example. We have had huge expansions in that. Since 2001, we've gone from 500,000 people on Medicaid in our state. Now we're over 1 million. Are they the right people on there? Are there able-bodied adults that aren't following the rules, that shouldn't be on there? Case in point, I look at market and I look at the other states around us and what are they doing? Illinois, for example, instituted an audit to go back to make sure the people who are on Medicaid or actually should be on it. They saved $1 billion annually in their budget. We have got to do those kind of things. But we have to diversify. You've got the oil and gas industry that we're way too reliant on. You've got the ag industry, which are very cyclical. And I love those industries, but we have to diversify our economy. I am the only guy in the race that's not a career politician, that's actually been in the private sector, that knows how to create jobs and get our economy growing again. We've got to focus on bringing the financial services here, manufacturing, aerospace. We have a huge opportunity here in Oklahoma. I met with the guy that runs the Lawton, Oklahoma Goodyear plant. And then he was promoted and he ran Goodyear nationwide. The Goodyear plant in Lawton, Oklahoma was the most productive, most efficient plant in their entire network. We need to sell those stories and we need to tell those stories, because if you're a manufacturer CEO looking to relocate, you want to be where you've got the hardest working, the energy prices we have here. So we've got to diversify there as well. You know, there's hard times. When I went through the financial crisis, which is something that Oklahoma's going through with the oil and gas downturn right now, back in 2008 and 2009, it was really, really hard in my business. And we had to kind of reinvent ourselves, and we had to tighten our belt strap, and we had to keep focusing on the future. And guess what? It was short-lived. It took a couple years to get out of the financial crisis, but our company exploded after that. I'm the only guy that's been through those kind of things and had to manage a budget and be concerned about my 1,200 employees and make sure that they're taken care of, and we've always got them first. So I'm going to be the governor just like I am the company. I'm always thinking about what's best for all of our families at our company. 10 years from now, I'm not the guy that's in love with just the sales department or the HR department or the IT department or the risk department. And just like I'm not going to be the governor that's in love with just this one industry or just this industry, you got to have a guy that can break through the silos, because everybody always has silos, and it's going to take an outsider to get our state growing again. An insider, a guy that's just been doing it forever, is not going to change anything. You know, back to, I hear you. I mean, I travel all over the state, and everybody is so frustrated with the education system. We've been told that House Bill 1017 was going to fix education in 1990. We've been told that the lottery was going to fix it. We've been told that horse racing and the casinos were going to fix education. We're continually at the bottom. So to me, we've got to change the dialogue there. We've got to, number one, get the teachers a pay raise. I look at market. What does the 6 states around us pay? We've got to do that for our teachers, number one. You know, I just think it's going to take new leadership. When I look at what we spend in the administration level, you know, we are top 6 in administration pay, and we're certainly not top 6 in outcomes, right? Nobody aligns how we educate our kids. You've got common education, which is K through 12. Then you've got the career techs. They used to call them the VOTECs when we were in high school, right? And then you've got higher ed. Well, nobody's looking at how we you know, get our kids ready for the workforce. The money can't be moved between any of those silos. And right now, you know, money needs to be moved somewhere. It may not be used here or here or here, but we need it here. And so in certain situations, you need to be able to have fungible dollars that can move around. So those are kind of budget things we need to do. You certainly need to drive money into the classroom and promote the whole profession and make it a focus. And a lot of it is just changing the mindset that we are going to be focused on education. We want to be top 10 in education. And then I've got to go recruit much smarter people than me that spent their life in education to figure out exactly what we need to do to be top 10 like the other states that are you know, kicking our rear. So, you know, to me, again, it comes back to kind of a mindset. And I don't understand why Texas, Dallas, they don't have mountains, they don't have oceans, but they are just absolutely booming right now. The state of Delaware, I don't know if you're familiar, but every public company, I wouldn't say every, 90% of the public companies are incorporated in Delaware. Why is that? They protect the corporate veil. So there are policies that we can do to spur economic development as a governor, right? So I'll tell you this, day one in office, everybody's going to know that Oklahoma is open for business. And we will change the policies that need to. And this is a 2-day conversation to go down and brainstorm, because I can't do government by myself. I can't do my business by myself. You guys can't do your business by yourself. It's going to take all of us. And we're going to brainstorm, and we're going to come up with the 5 things that are going to move our state forward, and then we're going to go execute on them. But I think that it's going to take leadership, it's going to take outside thinking to get things done, and the establishment is not going to do anything different. But we've also got to diversify as well to get our economy growing again, and I want to be the guy that, I think I can do it. So, the criminal justice reform, I've been getting briefed by that. We are #1 in our nation in female incarcerations. We're #2 overall. We're going to have to spend $2 billion over the next 10 years building new prisons, or we're going to have some kind of criminal justice reform. So I'm looking at what is market? What do other states around us do? Texas has already gone through the criminal justice reform. I don't want to be weak on crime, but I know there are better outcomes that we can do for the addictive drug person that are better outcomes than just incarceration. So that's one thing. Also, fairness in sentencing is something that's disturbing to me. Again, I've been running my business for the last 18 years, and the more I get into it, I was over in Claremore and met a lady who was incarcerated, had a drug problem. She went in, she finished drug court, changed her life. Great lady. Now she has a ministry helping women recover coming out of prison. And some of the stories she told me on the sentencing injustice was terrible. For example, a lady got sentenced to 45 years in prison because she had $200 worth of drugs. That's the amount of drugs that can fit in your hand, she was telling me. And just because she had Sudafed in her possession, she got caught with manufacturing, okay? So she got 45 years. Another state might give that same offense, 5 years. So those are the things, and even other county to county, you can't get any kind of justice. So that really bothers me. And I want to make sure that we address that and we fix that, because putting somebody away for 45 years is not a rehabilitation to me. So I think there's better outcomes. I certainly don't want to be weak on crime, but I think there are better outcomes that we can do. And then addressing the mental health. It's something nationally that is plaguing a lot of folks. It comes back to the Medicaid. It comes back to fixing some of the other issues where we need to spend more money on mental health, for example, and then some other things we need to make sure we find the abusers and we save the money there. But the other thing that I want to do as a governor, some of this is a breakdown of the family. And so as a pastor's son, I want to go county by county and go to Grady County and go to Cleveland County and go to Osage County and bring the pastors together and the community leaders together and give them a plan and say, here's your foster care numbers, here's your high school dropout numbers, here's your teenage pregnancies. Let's come together as a community and let's address this. Some of this is a breakdown of the family that can be addressed here, and we can't always look to Oklahoma City or certainly not to Washington, D.C. to fix all of our problems. And we need to come together as a community and address some of these issues county by county, because when you can break something down bite by bite, it is much, much easier to address than just kind of the big overwhelming task. And you see that in business every day. When you break your goals down just month by month, person by person, it's so attainable, and then you hold people accountable, and it's amazing how it adds up at the end of the year. So those are the kind of leadership things that I think I can bring to the governor's office, county by county, to also address some of the criminal stuff and some of the social issues. Yeah, so I believe that the states are where you innovate, where ideas come from. And the states are where ideas should come from and should flow up to the federal government, not the federal government down to the states. But there's a lot of partnerships that work well. If you look at the infrastructure projects that we develop, and we actually pay our fuel tax here. Part of that fuel tax goes to the federal, and then we turn around and we get that appropriated here to fix our highway. So that's a great partnership. And then there's matching dollars that that we can gather. I was at the Department of Health in Oklahoma County Department of Health, and there's matching dollars, that there's just federal dollars to spend for different Department of Health or mental health issues, and we didn't have the dollars to fund 10%, they were going to fund 90. So that kind of stuff just bothers me. If you can invest 10 cents and get 90, that's a good deal, right? To build infrastructure and also to help. So I was asking, do we work together? Do we partnership? And nobody's partnering. Nobody is working together. Tulsa's not talking to Oklahoma City. The other health departments aren't talking here. We can look for all of those type of dollars to bring back to our state that I think would make a tremendous difference. Also, the federal government also negotiates different trade contracts. Our pork industry in western Oklahoma really relies on shipping that product all over. So I think that's a great opportunity as well. And then, but I just believe that the states, we're closer to what we need to do and what services we need to deliver to our citizens. So it starts at the state first before we would look to the federal government. But there are some dollars that we should grab, and we're just being foolish if we don't grab some of it with those different partnerships. So the gross production tax is the tax to, I guess they're asking, what's the view on increasing it? That was the dialogue, yeah. So I love the oil and gas industry, and I'm not for any kind of new taxes, okay? But I'm also for fairness. And when you look at all different industries, we spend $22 billion in our state. And to me, that is more than enough. When I look at the 6-state average, that's about right for the amount of population we have. It's just really misappropriated. But when I look at fairness, I want to make sure that no industry gets a break over another industry. And so I look at the 6-state footprint around Oklahoma, what some states are charging this industry or this industry or this industry. I want to make sure that I am the governor for all 4 million Oklahomans, and I'm making sure that all industry are being treated fair and one's not being treated better than the other. So that's kind of my answer on the GPT. Yeah, you certainly need accountability. We certainly need audits in our state government. So I was in another state agency, and they went to an outside source to do their audit. I was like, why is that? Well, the state auditor was twice as expensive, took way too long, and didn't give them the type feedback that they have. So I'm really concerned, like the State Department of Health right now has misappropriated $32 million, even though they've been audited by the state auditor. So we need to understand what's happening there. And I would 100% audit every agency, make sure that they are, but it's more than the audit. You have to have more of a management review, and you've got to have a metric, like I said, to know how those things how they're being done, what services they're supposed to be delivered to the citizens. And we're all about accountability, and I would be for auditing the ones that need to be audited for sure. The state auditor was charging them $100,000 for an audit, and when they went to a private sector, a third-party audit, which I was familiar with in my industry, they only charged $50,000. So I think, and I said, well, you had to pay for that? And they go, yeah, we have to pay for that out of our budget back to the different departments. So it's just so jacked up. The money is there. It's just where's it at? So again, there's when I look at the whole $22 billion budget, and let's just take education for example. So you've got Common Ed, which is K through 12, then you got career techs, you got higher ed. So the career techs, I love career techs. They have a huge place in our education system, right? However, when I look at their funding, you can't move any of that money around. And they have about $520 million just in their capital improvement account, okay? And so right now, if we were thinking, you can only spend that on new buildings. So right now you're thinking, do I really need new buildings? I really might need to spend this in teacher pay. That's $520 million. Or maybe we need it over here. When we also just paid our property taxes, right, on December 31st. If you'll pull your property taxes up and you'll look at the bottom number, you'll see where the ad valorem of the property taxes go. the percentages don't make sense in a lot of cases. They're funding certain things. The library, for example, in Tulsa County got $683 on a tax bill that I saw, and then the county got $1,200, and the Department of Health got $300. So the percentages sometimes don't make sense, and over time, things get away from us. Other states, instead of just having a fixed amount of millage that we would use to fund something and it automatically keeps pouring in there, once you're fully funded in an account, then the rest of the money should go into the general budget to be spent where we need it, right? That's back to having more control over the entire budget that I want to do. But that's a silo you have to break down. I love libraries. I love all these different things. You just have to think big picture. What does Oklahoma need right now? Because we can't keep doing the same thing since 1907 and expect different results. If everybody wants the same results, there's 5 other candidates to choose from. If we want to really move our state forward, we have to make some of these hard choices to move forward. You know, again, I'm not an expert at all on the higher education. I know it's an important part of the overall cycle of getting our kids ready for the workforce. And so, working with industry, making sure that the higher ed schools around the state are working together to provide the workforce that we need is very, very important to me. But as far as the funding works on the higher ed, I don't know. I'd have to get into the weeds on that and figure out. I know it's an important part of what we do. Can there be restructure around some of it? I don't know, maybe. We need to look exactly how we're doing it, how we're educating the kids. The other thing is, like, when you look at the whole education system, why are some of the systems, they used to call them junior colleges, now they're community colleges, why we're not talking more with each other. Other states are a little bit more organized in how they structure their higher ed system, and so we need to kind of relook at, if I'm in a career tech class, I should be able to get credit for that. They should be talking to the community colleges, or the community colleges should be talking to the 4-year universities. And so everybody's so siloed. Again, it's not political, but it's the right thing if you're thinking about, if you take off this hat or this hat and you're thinking about how we're handling this for all of Oklahoma, it's the right thing to do. You know, that's a great point. We've got to protect the most vulnerable, and that's back to making sure that the Medicaid is not abused. The working bodied folks, I'm all about helping. We want to create a trampoline and a springboard for the working bodied folks, but not a hammock, right? And so it's very important to protect that, to serve the ones that need to be served, and to audit and get some of the abuse off of the system, kind of like Illinois did in my example earlier by saving $1 billion. But very, very important. And also you've got some of the federal stuff, Social Security and different things that also help the disabled that obviously our state can participate with. You know, I think so. So I met with also the Department of Banking, and they are solely funded outside from the user fees from the agencies that they oversee. And so that's something that I certainly would want to look into. Actually, I talked to the director the other day, and the state legislature actually pulled money from his department and was using it elsewhere because he said he was a good saver. But yeah, you can certainly do more fee-based things to get the agencies to more self-fund whatever they're overseeing. That's back to metrics. That's back to me looking at what other states do. I look at what other companies do. I grab ideas. You guys are looking at what other people do in your industry. You're grabbing those ideas and you're instituting them here in your business. We certainly want to do that, and we don't want to have our head buried, and we want to look at what other states do and how they're funding this. We don't have to reinvent the wheel here. We know we have to deliver that. We know we have to take care of this. We know we have to have infrastructure. We know we have to have public schools. We know we need to do this. Let's do it better than every state around us, because like it or not, we are competing against the states around us, and we're going to compete very well with me as governor, and we're going to make it happen. anyway, I just want to thank you guys for having me here. You've been great questions, great feedback, and really appreciate coming down here and learning, and looking forward to coming back again. And the main thing I just want to leave you with is I'm really, truly, I want to do this to change the trajectory. And people say, well, why are you doing this, Kevin? And or why don't you run for Congress first, or something that's easier? And real change can be made at the governor's office. I'm not going to be one of 435 in D.C. And if I can't be the governor and change the trajectory of our state, I don't want to do it. And so we have a great state. I'm 45 years old now. I'm waking up saying, if we don't do something different, we're going to continue to be a poor state. And we have so much potential. I travel the country. There's no reason we're not a top 10 state in education and growth and infrastructure. And if we sell that and we believe it and we talk about it and we have the plan to do it, we will execute on it. So that's why I want to be your governor. I want to be focused on you and your children and grandchildren and what's best for the next generation, and not regard at all to the next election. So thank you guys for having me.